Hey there, adventure seekers. Welcome to or welcome back to Grow on the Go, a podcast that takes you on a journey through the transformative power of outdoor sports and adventure. I'm Francisco, your host, and I'm thrilled to be back this time together with Tommaso as co-hosts for another episode. Today's episode is about finding strength in community one step at a time. A conversation that is close to our hearts. Joining us is the incredible Jessica Robson. Jessica's story is one that resonates deeply with so many. She faced challenges in her youth, battled anxiety and also other mental disorders, and discovered that running wasn't just a physical pursuit, but a powerful form of therapy. But she didn't stop there. Fueled by her own experiences, she went on to create Run Talk Run, a community for runners that are looking for a safe space to share their journeys. Jessica is a true leader, and today, she's here to unravel her story, the inspiration behind her incredible projects, and the strategies that keep her moving forward in her own journey. Prepare your backpack and get ready for an authentic but also inspiring conversation with Jess. This is Grow on the Go, because growth doesn't wait. It happens on the move. Jessica, what an honor to count on you as the second guest of the Grow on the Go podcasts. For the first episode, we also have the honor to have Tommaso that for this episode joins me to in this conversation with you. Right away, Jessica, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit more about you? And the challenge with the Grow on the Go is, let's go a little bit beyond I'm Jessica, I'm blah, blah, blah years old. Tell us what makes you unique.
Okay. I'm Jess. I have recently moved down to the coast in Eastbourne. And I am hugely addicted to caffeine and running and everything associated with community.
Okay. And how many coffees do you drink per day?
I have one with me right now. I think this is my third of the day, which isn't too bad considering it's 3 p.m.
And what's the average?
Probably 3 or 4. Yeah. Okay. More than I should anyway.
Okay. What kind of coffee do you like most, if you have one?
Oh, that's such a good question. There's a certain coffee roaster in London, and I've just found where I can get that down here. It's called Ozone Coffee Beans. I can't remember where exactly they're from, but they're amazing.
Have you tried already Portuguese coffee?
Not knowingly. Not knowingly.
I'm just saying this because people say that the Portuguese coffee is really good, but obviously I'm a little bit suspect. So you talked about being addicted to caffeine, but also running, and also community. But community, we can talk about that in a few minutes. Let's now stick with running. Can you describe a moment where you realized that running was more than just like a physical activity for you and just became a crucial part of your journey? And if you want, we can talk about like the mental health journey.
Of course, yeah. That is very much wrapped up in my mental health journey, if I'm honest. And I made that connection pretty much instantly with running being more than just a physical endeavor, actually. Mm-hmm. Just for a bit of context, I had spent a lot of my teenage years really struggling with my mental health. Social anxiety and depression were a part of my everyday life. And if anyone listening has had depression, like, you'll know that it comes with a lot of self-loathing and self-hatred. I don't know why, but I really did not like myself as a person. And I think that was just a symptom of depression.
What age?
Sorry?
What age?
So I was always very shy and quiet as a child. So it's hard to pinpoint where exactly this started, but it got worse in my teenage years. Okay. That shyness became more intense. I became more withdrawn, and I struggled to open up in a group setting anywhere, even with family. I would become.
But you feel it's interesting that you say that you don't know why you started to feel like this social anxiety, the depression, but that's super. That's have you ever tried to understand why?
Of course, I mean, I've been to therapy a lot as an adult, and I've got closer to understanding why, but it's hard to pinpoint like one exact moment that made me so introverted and into the self. You know, I was so closed off to social interaction. It used to instill a lot of fear in me, and there was no justification for that much fear, really. But the first time, going back to your question, the first time that I went for a run, I was 19 years old, and the run itself was horrible. Obviously, it was my first ever run.
I totally agree.
It sucked. It hurt and it was hard. But I distinctly remember coming back and standing in the shower, and for the first time in so many years, feeling proud of myself. And I really acknowledged the strangeness of feeling proud of myself for something. I hadn't felt that much positivity towards the self for such a long time that it made me want to do it again. You know, I realized that this was more than just moving my legs. Like this meant something.
And for how long? Like that first run was like a 5K, 3K, just to contextualize. You don't remember?
I don't really remember. It probably wasn't much more than 10, 15 minutes. It was probably just a painful movement around the block.
And what made you go out to run?
So, as I mentioned, I did struggle a lot with an eating disorder in my teenage years, which was wrapped up in the depression as well. And if I'm being honest, it was that eating disorder that pushed me to try another means of staying small. So it didn't come from a very positive place, the decision to run. It came from a desire to get rid of the calories that I'd consumed. Basically, that was the only purpose. But very quickly, it helped me reassess that relationship with food and my body.
You are saying that, and I can see myself on that. When I was 18, I also suffered from mental anorexia or something. So I was skinny, but still in my head, I thought that I was that I wanted more than I was waiting, and my way of losing calories, just stay in shape, was by running. I was running every day, and because of that, I was also not eating a lot. I lost some kilos, and then I decided I need to stop because I'm sick. But just like you described, that you don't know what just sparked the depression, the social anxiety, I have the same, but on the opposite side. I don't know what made me stop this unbalanced situation, because somehow I was okay. But then, just like this, I said, you need to stop. And somehow I can see myself in a mirror, or I can see myself exactly in your situation. So back to the 19 first run, you were having the shower, you started to feel proud of yourself. So that was the crucial moment.
It was, yeah. It was the moment that I knew that I needed to do it again. It wasn't really an understanding of why, but I just knew that I had to feel that way again, because it was just so much more positive than I'd been feeling for the last 5 years, especially. So I did make the goal of running just a tiny bit further. I think I was going by minutes on the watch rather than distance at that point. I just knew that I wanted to do it again, and I wanted to do it better, which was kind of the theme really from that point onwards. And wanting to perform better meant that I did take care of myself better in other ways. Like I was sleeping better, eating better, because I wanted to run better. I started to research, what makes you run better. So it actually improved my health because of that.
Wow.
What's the biggest difference between the Jessica with 19 years old and now? So like somehow, how did like you being outdoors and running and engaging with like nature and also with the community changed you and shaped you on who you are today? What are the biggest differences? Taking into account that we are on the podcast, it's like grow on the go. What are the biggest differences? What are the learnings? How did running outdoors, nature shaped on who you are today?
Oh, I could give you a million different answers to this question. The biggest difference is that I would not be talking to you on a podcast at that point in my life. I would be too scared to talk to a stranger and be this open. I really struggled to meet new people. So I think it helped me to realize there was a world outside of my head initially, especially in those early days when I started to run. It helped me realize that there was so much more beyond my negative thoughts. And being out in nature made me appreciate, I guess, a bigger picture for what else existed outside of my mind, because my mind was so dark at that point. And I was starting to notice like, nature is really gorgeous, really pretty, and I can see more positive things now. I guess the next pivotal moment didn't happen until I was mid-20s with my running.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So I had gotten to a place where running was a tool to support me with my mental health, but it didn't save me from becoming ill again with depression. I went through some pretty traumatic things in my early 20s, and it led to a long period of depression for me. And during that period of depression, everyone that cared about me was telling me to talk about my mental health, to talk about the trauma, to just talk. And it annoyed me so much that they were just telling me to talk, because there was nowhere to do that, right? I could pay for expensive therapy, which I couldn't afford, or go on a long waiting list to get it for free. I would have had to have waited like 9 months to talk for free.
Wow.
And I realized there was no in between for people like me who needed to talk now, right? It's either pay a lot of money or wait a long time. And I think running showed up for me really differently that year, because I realized that running itself could provide a space to talk when there was nowhere else. And I wanted to open that up to more people eventually, hence why we have Run, Talk, Run now. But yeah, Run, Talk, Run and running really shifted things that year for me.
Yeah, so that's the moment when you realize that Run, Talk, Run is a project that could help other people like you in the same situation. And I think your story is very inspiring for me, for sure, because I felt in the same situation, and I really like to have a project like yours in my area, for example.
Thank you.
What's inspired you to? You already answered in a sort of way. What inspired you to create this group, this project?
Yeah, I'd say that the frustration inspired me the most. But then my mum is also a runner, and she was saying to me, look, running helps you with your mental health. Why don't you go and find a running group to join in London? And of course, there are so many running groups in London. I wasn't, hard done by with choice, but I have to take myself back to that point. I was depressed and socially anxious. So all of those groups available to me just seemed really scary, really intimidating, really fast. A lot of them would advertise themselves as good vibes only. I was depressed, like good vibes only wasn't how I was feeling. So I realized that there needed to be a space that wasn't good vibes only, where we could talk about the hard stuff. If you were feeling rubbish, you were still welcome. And we were going to run gentle enough that it didn't matter what level you were at. So I guess it was noticing that gap in London for a gentle running space where talking was permissible.
How it was the response after you launched the Run Talk Run?
Honestly, rubbish. It was terrible. It took about 6 months to get regular people coming along. I had 2 regular attendees pretty much from the start. And it was just 3 of us running every single week for the first 6 months. And then it started to gain a bit of traction and the weather got better and it grew fast from that point onwards. But yeah, it was very quiet to begin with.
And how was it like, taking into account that you were feeling depressed and you were not with good vibes at all? How was it to start a project like this? That I know that right now it's not only in London. You also have Run Talk Run in some other cities, right? But knowing that maybe you were not in the perfect mood to start the project, that somehow what I like it is that you created your own solution, right? So you had running as a solution, but people were saying that maybe talking about this will also help you besides you run. So why not put the pieces of the puzzle? But how was it to, even though you were not in the right mood to create a project like this, was it tough for you just to start your own journey by creating the Run Talk Run?
Yeah, it was really hard because I was already in a bad place mentally, and putting my idea out there and not having anyone engage with it kind of knocked my self-esteem even further. But I was so sort of tied up with this frustration that there needed to be support, that actually the idea that it could help one person was enough for me to go to the starting point. And in my heart, I felt, well, if this week is the week that I give up, what if there was someone who wanted to come this week, right? How disappointed would they be that they thought there was going to be support and then I decided to cancel Run Talk Run? So it was that idea that there was someone else who might be struggling, who needs it, even if it was one person, that made me carry on doing it. It wasn't good for my mental health, I'll be honest, in the first few months, because I was still very bulimic and you want vulnerability. I was making myself sick before going because I was that mentally unwell, just to get myself to that meeting point. But I guess with time, my idea was validated and it made it worth those initial few months.
Wow. While we were talking, I see that there are some similarities when you start to run and when you start Run Talk Run, because you were sick and then you found running.
Mm-hmm.
Then, at least 6 years later, you were sick, you had running, but it was not enough. what would you say that it's the main learning that you take from these two situations that are super similar, right? Like you were sick and then you tried something to make you feel better, and you did it, luckily.
Mm-hmm.
And then you were sick and you tried your own solution. I remember talking with Tommaso, and he said that one of the things that he learned from all the memories, from all the things from the past is like, okay, now I know that I'm able, or now that I know that I'm a good problem solver. All these situations make me feel that I'm a problem solver. What about you? From these situations, what did you learn from them?
I think,
About you, of course.
yeah. Oh, I was about to give something more broad than about me. I was going to say, just generally, I think it's a willingness to be open to expanding your toolbox, right? Because at 19, I had zero tools for managing my mental health, none. So running became one tool. And then in 2017, that tool wasn't enough. I needed to add more tools, and I was willing to open that up a bit. And okay, let's invite talking to other people into this toolbox. So I think for me, that's the biggest learning. Is like, if I was to become ill again, I know that I've got to be open to trying other ways to support myself, because what has always worked historically might not work forever.
Okay. Focusing again on Run Talk Run, I see, or I know that you talk about many things. You have people talking about suicide. You have people talking about burnout, relationships. Is there any particularly powerful, well, inspiring story from a member that you like to share, or any particularly story that stayed with you?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the little moments at Run Talk Run that amount to, I guess, a lot of deep meaning for me. But one person who always comes to mind is a lady who, when she joined Run Talk Run, we'd been going for about a year, so it's quite a while ago. And she was super quiet, super shy, just like I was back in the day. And she would run with us, but not contribute much. You know, she was just there, present, but not talking about mental health or anything. And it was amazing to watch, just over time, her confidence grow, and to start hearing about the life experiences that put her in a bad place with her mental health. A lot of those life experiences still ongoing. And now she is a much, much more confident version of herself. She leads a Run Talk Run. And it's incredible watching her practice that vulnerability so openly with attendees now. Having seen her at the start of her journey, you know, seeing her direct people on a run and confidently redirect en route and things like that, knowing where she was when she joined. Yeah, I won't go into specifics because otherwise it will identify who that person is, but yeah.
And what is there any like personal story where you feel that, for example, this example that you mentioned is more related to social anxiety? Is there any other example of any other member who overcame whatever obstacle through running or through just engaging with the community that was feeling like super bad, that you wanted to share?
Yeah, there is a person, and I always stop myself from talking about it because the thing that this person experienced carries a lot of shame. But we had and I don't know how to say this in the right way, someone who had served a punishment for a crime in the past, and they weren't accepted in many places, right? Be that the workplace, they really struggled to get a job because of their history, struggled to make friends because all their previous friends knew their history. And Run Talk Run was one of the only places where we accepted them as they are. And I didn't know that this person had a criminal past until about 3 years into knowing them. Right? It took them 3 years to open up about this. And it made me realize that actually we judge so much based on someone's past. I'd got to know this person as they were today without having that preconceived idea about them. And it made me realize the importance of having an accepting place where no matter who you are or who you've been, you will be welcomed. So yeah, again, no names being shared, but yeah, that was a big moment for me.
Basically, you created a place with no judgment. I think it's incredible. And remember when I started therapy in 2020, and going to the therapist and find a place again without judgment helped me a lot. So I think that the situation you're creating with your project is allow to people to be more vulnerable and feel okay. So yeah, congrats.
Thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, like, we have to be so careful with Run Talk Run because it's so accepting. People do confuse it with it being like a therapeutic experience. And you know, we have to put so much work into our communications to remind people this doesn't replace therapy, but it's a good like intermediate, right? And I'm so glad that that's your perception of it, because we do try and act as that validating space without it being therapy.
I was actually like with following on what Tommaso said, I was actually wondering, knowing that you are trying to create you created a space where people can feel like they can share, they can be vulnerable, they can be themselves, they can learn. As a community manager, that's a tough job, right? So because again, you talked about the first example where this lady felt exactly the same as you, like, I don't know, where you were when you were 19, social anxiety. And what you want is like, I don't want to be in touch with anyone, just leave me alone. But then she decided just to join Run Talk Run. So what are the strategies as a community manager, or as someone who is managing a project like Run Talk Run? What are the strategies, the methodologies, like the actions you implement to make people feel safe, to make people come back, to make people feel that this is a place where you can belong, again, that you can be vulnerable? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, well, a lot of it comes down to the comms that we use, the words that we use when we are advertising our space. I mean, advertising a community is like advertising any other startup, right? It's trying to make sure that people know what you're about before they turn up. And so we put a lot of effort into reiterating how we're not judgmental and how we don't care if you're not positive and smiling when you turn up. We say that a lot in our messaging. So that's a big part of it. But then also making sure that upon their first experience, that is the case. As a community leader, whether that's at a run or elsewhere in the community, like just being willing to be vulnerable yourself as a leader, I think helps with that, helps the attendees and members feel like they're safe to share. So at the start of all of our runs, I will share how I'm feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. And if I can be honest when I'm doing that, then I'm hoping that they'll see that they can be honest too. And like, if my number is like a 9 out of 10, I might say, look, I'm a 9 out of 10 today. I'm great. But, last week, actually, I was more of a 4. Like, last week was awful. And that helps because you're demonstrating that this is okay here. I'm okay with this. And I hope you're okay with it too.
Let's be honest. From 1 to 10, how are you feeling today?
Oh, good question. I am probably about a 6 today, and that's not even because of mental health related things. I'm just very tired.
Okay.
I'm very tired. The house move stuff is fantastic, but it's also very overwhelming. Like, this is the first time I've bought a property, so I'm like, there's so many things flying around my head, but it's all good. It's just tiring.
We talked about like Jessica with 19 years old. We talked about Jessica with 25 years old. How are you today in the present day after overcoming problems such as eating disorders, social anxiety, depression? How are you feeling today?
I am a sensitive girl. Right? I'm just going to say that. So I know that I will feel life deeply. Whenever life throws a curveball, a good one or a bad one, I will feel it deeply. And so I feel more confident that I can feel it deeply and be okay. Because I am set up with so many more tools and a great support network now compared to before. And yeah, like, life will always be hard from time to time, but I do feel more confident now that I can get through that.
You mentioned your tools. Do you use meditation, for example, or?
That's one thing that I don't know. I journal. I guess I meditate to a small degree. Whenever I leave my house, the first thing that I do, even if I'm in a rush, is I look at the sky, and I just spend like, even if it's like 10 seconds, just being like, right, okay, that's what the sky is doing. Now I can go. So I guess it's like a minuscule
sort of meditation. Yeah, I agree.
Being mindful, I think, more than meditating. But yeah, I have lots of small.
What are the tools? What are the tools you have? So journaling, is there any specific question that you answer every day, or you just flow right?
Gratitude or?
Yeah.
That's a good question. So I sometimes will open up my journal and it'll be easy. Suddenly I just know instinctively what I need to put on paper. Sometimes I open it and I don't have a clue what to say. So I ask myself then, how do I feel physically? If I can't write about emotions, like, how do I feel physically? And as a runner, there is always something to complain about, right? Like, there's a niggle in my ankle, or my shoulders are really tight, or I'm really tired. And then the physical experience then leads me to talking about my emotions, because it's easy to make a connection then. Like, oh, my shoulders are tight. That's because this week's been so stressful. And then it's easy to then carry on writing.
And besides journaling, running, is there any other activity more related to like this mental wellness part that it's part of your journey or part of your routine?
Yeah, I guess being part of any support network is crucial as well. I make sure that I check in with my close support every single day. I'm a stereotypical, 30-year-old. I've got a girls' chat, and I think we underestimate like how good that is for your mental well-being as well. Actually telling a friend when you're not feeling great, right? That's a tool in itself. I wasn't very good at that in my early 20s. I'm very good at that now.
I love it.
And spending time with my cat as well. That's a
Your
mindful
cat.
experience. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I
He's a
started to check my emotion and how I feel in a app on my iPhone and share with a few friends. And yeah, it's very useful just to share not just the happy moment but the tough one. So I like this idea because sometimes I check the app and I found that a friend is not good, so I call him or call her and just check how she feels. So yeah, it's a great habit.
It's a
It's a good
brilliant
solution.
habit, a
Yeah.
great tool.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that you all use it vulnerably and openly as well.
You should check it. The name of the app is it's How You Feel. And
Okay.
it's super straight to the point. And it's super good. The best thing that I like about the app, besides giving me the chance to see how Tommaso or other friends are feeling, is it helps you because it lists so many emotions based on 4 categories. And imagine you feel tired and you click on tired, but then it says what tired might mean. Maybe there's an emotion right beside to tired that it matches perfectly on the feelings that you are having on that moment. So yeah, it's how you feel. It's a good option.
Yeah, it's great to improve our vocabulary on feelings. I think it's very important to understand how you feel actually in that moment, and not just happy or sad generic emotion, but go to the deep and understand how you feel.
Without wanting to sound patronizing, it's amazing to hear 2 men that know this app and use this app. It's really reassuring to know that there are things like this out there, and it makes it more accessible for people.
And I got to know about this app also through a male friend. So
Perfect, even better. It's so good to hear.
Hey, Jess, taking into account that we are talking about tools, and you already talked about not only cats, but also you talked about your mom. Throughout this journey, what was your biggest inspiration or source of strength? Not only with running, but again with mental health. And again, it can be a person, it can be something more material like a book or an app. Just let's be open.
Oh, wow. This is a good question. I think a long-term motivation and inspiration has been my mum, especially in the running performance sense. If I'm being honest, subconsciously, she's probably the reason I ran for the first time. I didn't admit it then, but she has always role modeled really taking care of herself. And I think that helps. In terms of other things, there was a book that I read probably about 1 month before starting Run Talk Run that I think inspired me, which was Johan Hari, Lost Connections. And
I think I saw that book today. Yeah. I think that I saw that book today on Instagram, like the cover. So rings my bell, but that's enough. That's it.
Yeah, it's controversial in many ways, that book, because he is very anti-medication for mental health.
Okay.
But he is a strong advocate for community and being intentional with seeking connection in your life. And I think that probably helped me to develop the idea of Run Talk Run, because I wanted to be intentional about seeking connection. So that book changed my life.
So Lost Connections, right?
Yeah.
It's the name of the book, Lost Connections.
Lost Connections, yeah.
Connections. Okay, so we'll make sure to share that with also with the community, because I'm sure that if the book helped you, it can help many other people. So
I'm gonna read it for sure.
yeah.
Yes. What your personal goals for future, both in running and your mental health journey in general?
So with my running, I guess it's a bit more imminent because I have Seville Marathon in 3 weeks. Yeah, I'm going to do my last long run this evening. And with my life and mental health, where I've moved into my new flat, I think I'm just seeking stability. I really want to establish a good routine for myself in my new home. And yeah, that sounds very boring, but
No, I totally agree.
Mental health maintenance can be boring, you know. It's stability is the goal now.
This summer I spent a few times in Portugal and in Spain, and when I back home I was super happy to have my routine, wake up and going out for a run, and so I really understand your point of view.
Yeah.
Before we close the conversation, I have 2 very quick and small questions. Do you have a mantra for yourself, or something, for example, that you say when you are struggling? Is there like any, again, mantra or like a tagline that you tell yourself just to boost a little bit like your mental clarity?
Yeah, I think something I remind myself in good times and bad times is that everything is impermanent. So even if I'm having a terrible day, I know it's not going to last. And it helps me to stay present, actually, if I'm in a good place, because this isn't permanent, you know, like really enjoy this moment because it's not going to be here forever. If I'm with my friends having a great time, like this feeling is impermanent. So just enjoy it. Or if I'm struggling on a run, like this pain isn't going to last forever. So just get through it. Yeah, reminding myself of the impermanence of things.
I love it.
Thank you.
One last question. If, like, knowing that at least the 3 of us, we love to spend time outdoors. Well, we love to run long runs. So we have so many things in common. If there's like a tip, suggestion that you like to leave with someone who is like facing with mental problems or not, and here, if possible, related to, again, outdoor sports, adventure, running, imagine that you're looking to that person. What would you say?
I would say that it's a lot easier to find a community of people to do it with, right? You don't, whether it's your mental health that you're struggling with or physical activity, you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to get through whatever it is that's challenging you. You don't have to do it on your own. And there are people that want to support you physically or mentally. They are out there. It might be hard to find them, but they are there. So keep looking for that support.
Okay. If people want to support you on your journey, or if people want to know more about Run Talk Run, where they can find you?
I would say either Instagram or LinkedIn is best for me. So I'll let you pop links if you need to. But yeah, Instagram or LinkedIn is probably best. Okay.
So Jess, once again, let's wrap up this conversation. Thank you for being vulnerable. I seriously, well, I know that it's difficult, but I really hope that with this conversation and this time that you have just to have this conversation with us, you moved from a 6 at least to a 7 on how are you feeling today. And thank you so much for accepting the invite to be the second guests of Grow on the Go the podcasts. We wish you an amazing 2024. and also wishing that you can find stability just like you are seeking. Okay.
Thank you very much. It's been such a lovely conversation. Nice to meet you both.
Thank you.